Hello, everyone, all astrology lovers. Sad Sangat here with the astrology of Mercury retrograde. I'm here to demystify the retrograde Mercury. Maybe you have heard many cliches about retrograde Mercury, especially, but it's nothing to fear. There's nothing wrong in the sky. No planet travel ever retrograde. So the retrograde in astrology is just an optical illusion. So I will explain what that means, because we in astrology, we do the interpretative outlook of what it means, right? It's associated, Mercury is associated with the mind, with thinking, with communications, with setting connections, right? Links like bridges, for example. So setting connections with other people. And I will talk all about what it means in astrology, a phenomenon that is astronomical. So let's get started. If you would like to contact me, here you have many ways of contacting me. And in addition, I would like to ask you to subscribe to the channel if you like this material and my insights about astrology. Please subscribe to the channel. That will help my my channel, and hit the bell for notifications if you like. And I expect your questions and comments about this. So very quickly, I will share another page from a Facebook video that I received lately in my news feed. And here is the Mercury retrograde, how we experience it in the side from Earth. Here we have the Earth. This is the sun, and of course Mercury is an inner planet, meaning it's in between the Earth and the sun. So here we have Mercury going around in its orbit, and I'm gonna play the video so you understand how this works. So see, as the planet goes around the sun, it makes a loop, right? And in fact, during the year, it makes 3 loops, as you will see here. Usually there was in 2020, I think it was, we had 4 retrogrades periods. That is rare, but sometimes it happens. And those retrograde periods, as you see here, sometimes they are longer, sometimes they are shorter, more shorter, right? It depends on the astronomy of it. So here you have that understanding. Let me stop share, and I get to share the chart now, because I will talk about the progress of Mercury in the sky as it goes aspecting different planets during this period of retrograde period, right? As we saw, there was a segment, and that is considered the shadow that goes from one just a moment. that goes from a certain degree to another degree. In this case, it is the degree of Libra at 8 degrees 55 when it turned retrograde. Let me see. What did I put here? Oh, I put the date of the first aspect, but it turned retrograde at 8:55 degree, 8 degrees 55 minutes of Libra. So as Mercury goes retrograde, the first aspect that it makes is the opposition to Jupiter. And at the same time, it is also squared by the moon. So we have a T-square here building up, right? If we advance 1 hour or so, the moon will be exactly at 4 degrees, and we can do that. Okay, let's see, a little bit more. Okay, so here we are with a T-square between the moon, Mercury, and Jupiter, right? And this is very interesting because Jupiter is also in retrograde motion, right? It's almost opposing the sun, and every time that a planet is on the other side of the sun, we are here, right? So that is when the illusion of the in the sky shows a retrogradation. Okay, so both planets are reassessing, rethinking, re-evaluating, and so as you know, Mercury retrograde is a planet of the mind, and we cannot all the time go forward thinking and planning things, and we need some periods to rest the mind and to also take another or second look at what we have been thinking. And it's usually through the aspects that we adjust or we change our way of thinking, right? Because most of the time, the circumstances, events even can influence the way we think. And also learning, studying, communicating, right? Receiving messages, etc., may change our perspective. And this is what happens with these two mind planets is happening. There is a certain emotional state here, the moon in Cancer, right? That has to do with safety, with security, that is triggering our perspective. The mind, right? The practical mind, Mercury, trying to find a balance, trying to have harmony, agreement between two people. Oppositions usually reflect confrontation of opinions and ideas. So in this case, what happens is that Mercury is trying to find peace and harmony, and Jupiter, it is kind of expanding our overview and saying, well, I have the truth, right? Jupiter always has the truth. So there is this clash of those two energies, and the moon is the emotional body, the feelings, the need for safety and security is what is triggering this opposition. So there is a rethinking, as I said, analyzing the big picture, and also planning, considering the global context. So we may feel too much optimism, which and a very optimistic perspective with this aspect, and we may try to we should try to socialize or exchange ideas with someone else in order to understand our this future that is facing Jupiter in Aries, right? There is a sense of future or futuristic ideas, and we need to try to balance the big perspective and our immediate need for peace and harmony. Now, it could be a good time to also balancing opposite, considering the broader context, the global perspective, and how to make decisions locally in your family, in your environment, within your relationships. So there could be something happening in the world. In fact, everything happening in the world will, in this case, affect how you think, how you plan, how you organize your life, especially relationships here, because there is this opposition, this need of taking perspective, and at the same time not being too generous or too optimistic in our communications. So there is a need to pay attention to the details, because with this moon in Cancer, we may lose footing on the logic, right? Because usually the need for safety is more of an instinct of survival, right? And we are looking for protection. Moon in Cancer looks for the family environment where we are contained and protected, right? So it's a good idea, since Jupiter is considered the guru, right? Jupiter can give us the access to counsel, to someone who is wiser and can give us advice. So, but make sure that you don't lose, you don't get lost in the broader perspective, right? That you have your grounding in yourself as well, because there could be an exaggerated sense of confidence, as I said, too much generosity, and that could backfire. So, but since the retrograde is time for reflection, right? And it's not only Mercury retrograde, it's Jupiter retrograde. Pretty soon will be Mars retrograde. And Mars is in the shadow zone, so we can consider that as well. We have Saturn retrograde, Uranus and Neptune and Pluto. They're all retrograde. So we need to consider during this retrograde period that it's a time for reflection, to go within and explore how we incorporate the changes that have happened during the direct motion of the planets. So it's a time to integrate. All right, and remember that the planets are in the far side of the sun, and closing the cycle with the sun. So we are to incorporate what we have learned, as I said, from the direct motion. So it could have an influence on agreements that we make. So make sure that your emotions and your survival instinct is under control, logical control, right? In order to make agreements. And sometimes this requires a compromise. So what else? Yeah, don't be afraid of discussing your ideas with someone who is wiser or better prepared, more knowledgeable, or some counselor, or some professional advisor, because, or even a friend who you consider you have in high regard, because that can even clarify your own ideas. However, don't let yourself being absorbed or taken away, even sometimes adrift, with this higher knowledge of Jupiter, because your ideas also count, right? That's the opposition between Mercury and Jupiter. So in the end, you can take all those ideas and evaluate your ideas and see what is working for you and what is not working. And if there is a need to find an agreement between two parties, then you are better prepared to make adjustments or changes that benefit both, right? So as I said, oppositions usually show up in relationships, and your daily routines could be full of travel, learning or teaching, and administrative work, or even spiritual routines, if that makes you feel safer. So if these activities make you feel safer and more secure, then you will take this opportunity to do them. So this aspect, this opposition with Jupiter, will repeat later on in October the 12th. And then we have also this day, we also have something very interesting happening, because it's there is a square and a half, or sesqui square, between Mercury and Saturn. That happens first on the 19th, and then the other one is a square and a half with Uranus on the 20th, or no, 18 and 19, sorry, on the 18th and on the 19th, which is today, September 18, and then let's forward one more day. And here we have the semi-square. It's not marked by lines here, but you see this angle between Mercury and Uranus, and Mercury and Saturn. So a square and a half, there is first, there is this frustrated attempt to change something, which is the semi-square. According to this astrologer, Bernadette Brady, sesqui quadrats, or or sesqui squares, it's 135 degrees, right? And she says that this aspect, the key principle to this aspect is frustration of action that eventually leads to a delayed achievement. So since it is a combination of the square and the semi-square, 135 degrees, this allows the action of the square, but only after the considerably frustration of the semi-square caused either by the individual through procrastination or by actions of another, right? There are delays that force people into new modes of action, but only after several attempts to proceed in the old way. So, and she gives an example. So there is always a turning point when the energy does start to flow with this aspect. The most suitable approach is to be aware that there will be holdups and delays, and instead of easing up until the aspect is clear, as with the semi-square, the turning point should be hurried forward, but determinedly pushing for the results desired. So this is an aspect of a frustrated mind, right? Trying to, in this case, Mercury in Libra is trying to find, as I said, peace, balance, justice, harmony, and there is an obstruction because we need to change the way we are doing it. And the first is with Saturn, right? The old ways, the traditional ways, the rules, the regulations. And then we find that being eccentric or trying original or unexpected new methods does not work either in the short term. However, since this aspect will repeat later on September the 19th and October, so this is September 19th and October the 12th, it will, both sesqui quadrats with Saturn and with Uranus will repeat. So we will have another set of holdups and then release of the energy, but with a delay. So probably the second time, it will be a better chance to succeed at whatever action that you are taking. In this case, there is as I said, the looking for peace, harmony, and an agreement. So later on the 22nd, let's see, 20, 21, 22nd, we have Mercury is stationary direct at, so here, I don't have the correct date. Let's see. Let's advance this. Exactly. What I was meant to say, not stationary, but Mercury on the 23rd enters Virgo. And as it enters Virgo, it will meet Venus, right? And also the moon. So first the moon and then Venus. So the 23rd is when Mercury enters Virgo, and the energy changes because Virgo is its own home, right, where Mercury is exalted, and it has a meeting here with the moon, and the moon, as I said, is bringing that energy from the square with it, and it will make our mind and our intellect more emotional, and sometimes it could help us express what we feel, right? It will be good for that. But sometimes if those emotions are too strong, they can blur our mind and our thinking, the way we think, right? So that's for the conjunction. Now we have later on Mercury in on the 25th will meet Venus. Let's go forward. So here is when Venus will meet Mercury, or Mercury will meet Venus. And now that the moon has moved away a little bit, we have the opportunity to join our desires and agree in our minds with our desires. This Mercury is having a conversation with Venus, right? The lady in Virgo is very picky. She wants things in a very clean way, and finding the details that are not working right. So her desires are kind of conditioned, right? And so meeting with Mercury is like having them together, making some deal breaking, right? Deal breaking for that piece that Mercury was looking for when Mercury was in Libra, right? So this is a conversation that is very significant to review what Mercury was doing in Libra. And at that time, Venus was also in Virgo, so there was a mutual reception there, and they were kind of working together also. So we see here there is a good dynamic between Mercury and Venus. Because when Mercury was in Libra and Venus in Virgo, it was like having them visiting their house, visiting each other's house, right? And trying to find things that could be adjusted, and they were helping each other. Okay, I will visit your house and we'll see what I can find that I can do better, right? And Venus was doing the same for Mercury. And now that they are together, then they have the final conversation, the final agreement, let's say. But the thing is that the moon is a balsamic moon, or a dark moon ready to go for a new moon on the 25th. So this conversation is not yet completed. And let me see, a few hours later. Yeah, it's at 2 degrees, the new moon. And Venus is, let's see, at 25. So it might be on the 26th. In fact, let's see. In fact, the conjunction of Mercury and Venus happens after the new moon, which is good. This is good because the final conversation, you know, is after the new moon, when the moon starts a new cycle, and it's ready to start new. So this conjunction in Virgo, it's very helpful for the new moon. So, and I will have another video on the new moon, and I will talk about this, how significant this is. So both Mercury is re-examining here what Venus has done through Virgo, and as I said, maybe Mercury is finding new perspectives, new ideas. Remember, retrograde is reconsidering, reflecting, finding new perspectives. So then also on this day, they are also in trine with Pluto. So there is a powerful transformation here because of this, as I said, of this agreement, or this interaction between the mind and our desires, right? There is progress made in order to get rid of unnecessary things. Usually that's what Pluto makes. It makes us leave behind whatever is toxic, whatever is not useful anymore. So there is a profound transformation of the mind and our desires, and sometimes it is an unveiling of secrets, secrets desires, secrets thoughts that we might have, and they may come to light, especially once the moon separates from the sun and it starts showing the little smile in the sky. That could happen. But pretty soon the moon will square on the 1st of October. The moon will square Mercury. Here it is. So here we have the moon square Mercury and forming a T-square with Neptune, which is even more expansive than Jupiter, right? So this T-square, it is very significant, as well as it was the T-square with Jupiter. In this case, is in mutable signs, which lays the ground for adjustments of ideas, right? In the even cosmic perspective, not only global perspective, but cosmic perspective, right? We may get an illumination about actually a literal revelation about something in the universe that will make us very emotional here in explorations, right? There could be something, some results in the exploration of the universe that makes a big, huge opening of our mind. And so make sure that you don't get lost in that perspective, because it could be confusing as well. And it could be confusing, and you can lose footing of your logical thinking. And in fact, it could be something that can get you lost, and it could be very difficult to understand because of the opposition of Virgo and Pisces, right? It could be also misleading. It could also be confusing, and it could be something that changes our perspective so much that we are not sure where we are, and that could be the very emotional expansion that we have here. It could be confusing. On the 7th of, let's see, forward. On the 7th of October, we have a couple of things. We have again the 7th of October. We have the trine with, now Mercury is direct, and we have the trine with Pluto. Let's go one more day. Here we are, the trine with Pluto, but at the same time, the Sun is opposing Chiron. So this could be an interesting day again. The transformation could be very powerful, and we may shed light on our vulnerability, on the vulnerability of our existence on the earth. So it could be also light on our existential wounding revelations, right? The Sun opposing Chiron it's like the full Chiron, right? Emulating the full moon. So it's all light on our wounding, the wounding of our existence. So I don't know, sometimes it could be related to our understanding of consequences of climate change, or consequences of any natural catastrophes, or consequences of any other important event that could attempt against our survival as a species. So 3 days later, on the 10th, 9, 10, we have here Mercury entering Libra. A few hours later, I guess, because it's still. So entering Libra, Mercury joins Venus and the Sun, and Venus is combust here. It's too close to the Sun to be seen, and it is going herself under the sun rays into a transformation from morning star to evening star. And it will form the new Libra Venus star point, right? At 29 degrees of Libra later on and by the end of October. But Mercury finds a new stage, right, in Libra. So Mercury will go back to the dealing board, to the conversation board, and it will be also a day where there could be rebalancing of budgets, finances, taking stock of our earnings and expenses, and there could be changes in currency values and in financial markets. So that's a day where, again, pretty soon, as I said, it will oppose Jupiter once more, now at 1, almost 2 degrees here. Let me see the following day. So yeah, here you have on the October 11, you see Mercury opposing again Jupiter. So I took the days that I gave you from the Swiss ephemeris, and what happens is that the dates that it gives are from the Greenwich meridian, and of course you need to adjust dates and times to your location. So in this case, this time, this date is for Texas. So right before Mercury goes out of the shadow on October the 16th, it will make a square with the moon again. So that will be before going to, it's a few hours earlier in the morning of October 16, there will be the square between the moon and Mercury once more. So this exiting the shadow, there will be an internal dilemma between your feelings and your logic and your thinking, and you may emotionally question ideas, convictions, opinions, and this could affect your communications with other people. Now Mercury is approaching, after leaving the shadow, it's approaching the opposition with Mercury. So now again, once more, opposition with Chiron, sorry. The Mercury will oppose Chiron after exiting the shadow at 8 degrees 55. So your communications could be affected because of the way you are saying things. Suppose that you get very fearful, right? The moon in Cancer could be fearful because of the need for safety, security, protection. And if you are very fearful, then your way of conveying your ideas could be very forceful or demanding, right? And that could affect your relationships. So in any case, any conversation, communication that you do will be charged with feelings, and it may not consider or care for what other people are feeling. So the square with the moon and Mercury usually affects the way our interactions with other people, right? And sometimes it's not the best day to find a compromise because feelings are in the way. And that's the day when Mercury exits let's stop the share, exits the shadow of the retrograde period. So we will have Mercury retrograding since September the 9th until October the 16th. So that's a long time. And Mercury has been, this is the second year Mercury retrogrades in air signs. Last year was from 10 degrees of Libra to the end of Libra. It was the shadow, and this time is the earlier part of Libra through and into Virgo. By the end of the year in December, the Mercury retrograde will happen in Aquarius, the last air sign. But this will be the last of the retrograde periods in air signs, because for next year, we will be thinking about the material world during the retrograde, Mercury retrograde. It will be in the earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. So we will be dealing with the physical reality, thinking and reconsidering the elements of our tangible existence. So that will be a change of perspective in that area. So thank you for watching, and I hope you got some ideas that you can use during this Mercury retrograde. I really appreciate your subscribing, commenting, liking, and hitting the bell for the notifications. Thank you for coming the first time or coming back. And I hope to see you soon in other videos as well. Thank you for your support. Goodbye now.